Ladies and gentlemen, Eastern Europe's most loved car. Today I'm having with me the Volkswagen Passat B6, a car for which my compatriots, the Romanians and other Eastern Europes, have made an obsession with. And when some of the people are making an obsession with a car, usually there are other people which are starting to hate that car or that brand because of the obsession those people made, because you have those noisy people and they get on your nerves because like, all the time,
No, your car is stupid, your car is bad, I have a Volkswagen, Volkswagen is the best car, the Passat is the best car, the Passat is premium, and so on.
So there are these people. I don't know how it is in your country, but at least in our country we have these people which are so obsessed with Volkswagen and are considering this a premium brand, and they feeling like they are something and they got to a level in the society for owning a Passat. But despite all these and their obsession, maybe there is something with this car, right? So in the past, I had the chance to travel with the Passat, I had the chance to drive the Passat, but now I have this car near me and I had time to get into the details to see why these people have become obsessed with it. Now, it's not okay to become obsessed with a brand. I myself don't have a favorite brand. I have cars that I like, I have cars that I don't like. Each brand had their best cars and their good cars and their legendary cars, and each brand also had their bad cars. And Volkswagen also had bad cars. But this car, despite being launched almost 20 years ago, I'm filming this in 2024, and this car was launched in 2005, if you believe it, 2005, and it's still very present, at least in our country's streets. Of course, many of these models that you see on the streets are not in the best shape, but they are still very present. But if you believe it, how fast the time flies, almost 20 years with the Passat B6. This car that I'm having with me was built in 2010, so 2010. I will not talk too much about the engine because this car, despite having a very rare engine, I will tell you just several things about it. But this car, the Passat B6, came with a multitude of petrol and diesel engine. Also with those beautiful 3.2 V6 and 3.6 liters V6 petrol engines, naturally aspirated. Those cars are very rare and those were very cool Passats. But in our country, most of the people bought the 2.0 diesel with 140 horsepower and of course the old 1.9 diesel with only 105 horsepower. But this car is quite light and you don't really feel like you have 105 horsepower, but more than that. This car has a 2-liter engine, diesel, with 110 horsepower. This was an engine that was put on the Passat for less than 2 years, and it also comes with a manual gearbox with only 5 speeds. But weirdly, those speeds were built that way that you really don't feel the need for a 6th gear, and despite having only 5 speeds, it also have a very low fuel consumption. But as I said, in this clip, I will focus on the car as a whole in general and less on the engines, because for this weird and rare engine, I will make a separate video. The Passat was never a beautiful car, but it was not an ugly car either. Passat was always a boring car, a car for the masses. But this was the secret of Volkswagen, you know? Because despite selling a lot, because in time they built an image, so you also paying for that brand in the front, the Volkswagen always made cars that were generally, they also had some exceptions, but most of their cars were quite boring. They were not beautiful, but they were also not ugly. But this was the secret, because by doing so, they looked to address to a larger masses of people. And this was part of their success. Now, this car looks quite okay, quite good. At least in our country nowadays, most of those Passats are looking quite bad because they are in a bad shape, and many Passats like this in this generation had huge problems with the rust. Happily, this car, despite being 14 years old already, doesn't have any issues with the rust. And of course these 17-inch alloy wheels make it look very good. A thing that I always liked in the Passat, and not only in the Passat, in other cars too, it's that they put the turn signal down here in the bumper. Why I like this? Because to change it, it might be a little bit more complex, right? Yes, but in the same time, from my point of view, the safety, it's better when you have the turn signal here. Not only in the day, but especially in the night. Imagine those cars that are having the turn signal next to the main light. So you have it here, or sometimes in some Volkswagens and other cars right here. In the night, when the car has the headlights turned on, and you also put your turn signal on, the visibility of the turn signal is not that good. But when you have the turn signal separate from the main headlight, it is much more visible, as I said, not only during the day, but especially during the night when the headlights are turned on. This car is a sedan. Here in Eastern Europe and also Central Europe, I know that people love the sedan. They were making an obsession with the sedan. In Romania, especially for the old Dacias, which despite having an estate version, people were still buying the saloon one, the sedan. This car looks good in a sedan version, and to be honest, the estate version of this Passat looks like a car for carrying dead people. So it's not that like something like the old Volvos from the 90s. Nowadays the estates are much more beautiful, they have nice designs, but back in those days, almost 20 years ago, those estate cars were still looking, most of them, like some cars for carrying, hearse car I think it's called in English, for carrying dead people. But despite looking like that the estate version of the Passat, it's very, very practical, and it has huge amounts of space. Nevertheless, here in Romania, the sedan, the saloon, as you want, some others are calling it, it is the most loved. And of course, Passat was one of the few cars back then that had turn signals, the side turn signals in the mirror, which was something back in those days. Otherwise, it's a quite normal looking car, I would say quite elegant, but it's not a car that when you see it on the street you might say, oh, what a beautiful car. No, it's just a normal car, quite boring, but in the same time it has a bit of elegance in it. In the back, I would say that the Passat looks even better than in the front, and I would say that it looks even better than the next generation, the B7. We can hardly say next generation. Volkswagen is considering the B7 a separate generation, but to be honest, it's just a deeper facelift of the B6 with a different different tail lights and different front lights, a different grille, but the interior, it's absolutely the same. And what it makes it look even better is that we have standard LED lights. 20 years ago, standard LED lights. There were very few cars back then having LED lights. One of them was the BMW 5 Series, the E39, the facelift version. I don't know if that was the first one, but was one of the first. But back then, I think in this class there was no car with LED lights, and these ones were even standard, not optional, standard LED lights. And the effect is quite cool because you see, here it is completely white, but during the night it lights red, of course. And when you put the turn signal on, it becomes orange. Not red like in the US. I don't understand those in the US, by the way, having red turn signals. They are very barely visible. They are not visible at all, but in the front they have orange ones. Why you not put orange turn signals on the back of the car too? It would be much more visible. Whatever, let's go back. And here, you see there is another one, but there are no LED lights here. In fact, there is nothing here, but I saw some people who put some LED lights on this part and this part too, of course using aftermarket lightnings. Now, what I saw, despite having LED lights and the effect is very cool and so on, and the car looks good, one of the things that I saw in many Passats like this is that most of the LEDs are going dim or are dying after I don't know how many years, but I saw quite a lot of them with LED lights that were partially dead, and depends on which LED it's dying, you will have only half of the tail light on or half of the turn signal on. Of course this can be solved, but I saw many of them having this issue. Another thing that it's very interesting in the Passat, it's the way the boot is opening by pushing on the badge. And this was very cool. I used to open it like this, but what I like is that I saw it the other day, that is only push on him, it will go up by itself, but you need to wait. See, it's not working now if I want to show you, but yesterday it worked. It happens. When you don't film, it works, but when you want to film something, it's not working anymore. Now, despite this cool effect, I like it. An issue with this type of opening, it's that you see, for example, let's say in the winter or it's a rainy day, or the car gets dirty in the back. And if you want to open the trunk, the boot from the back, by pushing on the badge, you will get dirty on your hands. Happily, you have in the front a special button, I will show you a little bit later, with the help of whom you can open the boot from inside. But for example, if you have, let's say, some shoppings, you need first to put your shoppings down, then go, if the back of the car is dirty, then go in the front, push that button, come back, and then load your shoppings. Now, another thing that I like is that it has two exhaust pipes here, and they are real, because back in those days we didn't have this fashion with fake exhausts, because back then we also didn't have much of social media, because in my opinion social media promotes a lot of fake image, not very real. A lot of people are faking on social media, and this is what people are doing now with the car too. They are faking the exhaust, so fakes everywhere. Back then there were no fake exhausts, and there are two, they are real. And moreover, this car was a proof that this car meaning the one that I'm filming it, was very well maintained. Is that, look, no dirt, almost no dirt on the exhaust pipe, and it's a diesel. Quite rare this. You can rarely find this in any diesels. If we are still here, let's talk a little bit about the boot, and let's open it. Maybe this time it's working. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. This is the boot. Its main down point, let's say, it's specific to each sedan, to each saloon car. That is the trunk. It's very deep. This car has a very big trunk, 565 liters, which is a lot. The only down thing is that, as I said, the trunks, the boots of the sedan cars, the saloons, are very deep. And if you put something deep there, if you want to take it, it's not that practical, and you can also hit the head here. What I don't see, it's a light here in the trunk, in the boot. I don't see a light. That's very weird and unexpected from Volkswagen. I'm looking maybe it had it in the past and maybe it's not working. Oh, it's here. Yeah, so it has. Sorry, my bad. Otherwise, there is nothing interesting with this boot, because you have no hooks, no sockets, no nothing. You have two big storing areas on each side, and these things you can remove it and have a storage side that doesn't keep anything. I don't know why you can remove it. I don't understand the logic here. Maybe some of you are understanding it, whatever. But otherwise, it's just a simple and almost square boot. Nothing special. I don't know what you can say more than that it's big, and that would be all. Now, two things. Some of us we may complain about our cars that here on the boot, here you have a plastic covering. Other cars don't even have that. You can see the bare metal there. Here you don't have a plastic, you have even a carpet, and it's very nice to touch, and it gives a sense of quality. And another thing that I like, I know it's for safety reason, is that you have those red reflectors here. You also have it here on the tail light. I don't know why they added there, maybe to replace those that are already here, but as a safety measure it's not something bad to have these reflectors, as long as it helps the safety. Now, a thing that I saw when you want to close the boot, and maybe the boot door, it's, let's say, dirty, and you don't want to put your hands on it like this and get dirt on your hand. So you have here an area from which you can pull and close the boot. A thing that I saw is that if I'm standing in front of the boot and trying to do like this, see, it's not closing. You need a lot of power to do it. But if I do it from the side, it closes better. Weird thing. Let me try again. Let's see. See, I'm afraid to. No. But if I'm almost done. So that's all with the boot. Nothing special, nothing interesting, no sockets, no hooks, no nothing, but very, very big, and you have a nice carpet. Here in the back it's a very nice place to sit, and I will show you not only the general quirks, as Doug says, but I will also show you some attention to details. What I also always liked at Volkswagen, and also Skoda the same, it's that they offer a lot of space inside, even though, at least in Volkswagen's case, even though their cars are not the longest in the class. So Volkswagen offers cars that are quite compact in size on the outside, but huge inside. And I'm taking as an example my Volkswagen Fox, my little Volkswagen Fox, which is 3 meters and 83 centimeters long, but inside, even if I push the front seat to the back in my driving position, I still have a lot of knee room in such a small car. And just to have an example, I'm 1 meter and 82 centimeters tall. That, for those of you in UK or US, I think that it's almost 6 feet, if not 6 feet. I'm not that accustomed with these imperial units. And both the passenger seat and the driver's seat are put in my driving position. I'm not very tall, but not short either, so I have the front seat quite pushed to the back, and still look how much knee room I still have. Another thing I like here on the back seat, on this bench, is that where you have your legs, where you put your legs, you have an extension so that it covers your legs, so that your legs will be sustained in a better way. Otherwise, we have some pockets here on the back of the front seats. Nothing special, many cars have that, but back in that time there were not many cars, especially mass cars, not premium cars, with air vents in the back. Of course, unfortunately, you cannot change or set the temperature. That it's being done by the driver, so you have to deal with the temperature that the driver is setting. But at least you have it here, and it cools, for example, in the hot summers, here in the back, it cools much faster than a car that does not have air vents here in the back. Another thing that I like, apart from this hook that you have here to put your clothes, is that you also have a separate hook here for your clothes on the B pillar. I saw this in many Volkswagens and I always liked it. Many would think, why have another one here if you have one here? But for example, if you put your clothes here, your shirt or whatever, you don't see on the outside anymore, but if you put it here, you still have some visibility. And talking about visibility, It's surprising for me that in this Passat the windows are quite small. I cannot say that I feel claustrophobic as in other cars nowadays, but Volkswagen used us with huge windows, and here it's not the case, but on the estate version you have bigger windows. Other than that, a very curious thing, maybe you will see it here. I'm opening the door. Then I always wonder what it's here, and so I opened this. If I push the button it doesn't open, but I pulled it and I saw that it's an ashtray. Now you don't see ashtrays too much in these nowadays cars, at least in the front. For example, in my Opel Astra J I don't have it at all, but here it has not only in the front but also in the back. The thing that the car manufacturers eliminated the ashtrays, from my point of view, it's a good thing, because smoking doesn't bring any benefits, neither for you nor for those around you. But I just showed you this as a, let's say, fun fact. And you have it only on the right door. On the left door, left back door, there is no ashtray. Another thing here on the door is that Volkswagen offers soft touch materials in the back too. Now, you know, many cars offer soft touch materials in the front, on the dashboard, on the front doors, but this one offers on the back doors too, because many manufacturers, as I said, offer them in the front, but in the back they use hard plastics. Sadly, nowadays Volkswagen, at least on the smaller cars, T-Cross, T-Roc and the electric ones, they are abundant now in hard plastic, when Volkswagen used us with soft touch materials everywhere. So back then the quality was better. Now of course you have an armrest here, but not only that, if you push on this button you also have two cup holders for you and your colleague here on the left. And apart from the cup holders, there is also a storage space hidden here, very interesting. And not only that, but we also have here, you can open it and then you have access to the trunk if you want to take something without without stopping the car, or if you want to carry something long, or even your skis. And another thing that I like is that here, where the bench ends only here, but you also have a soft extension here, almost up to the door, just for you not to hit your back when you are getting out of the car. So overall, it's very nice in here in the back. Oh, and also you have separate lights for the passenger on the right, and also separate light here for the passenger on the left. So overall, it's a very nice place to sit and travel here in the back of the Passat. In the front, the first thing I was able to see for my detailed eye is that this car has the facelifted steering wheel, and here on the steering wheel you have buttons for the menu, for the trip computer, and also for the volume and for connecting the phone. The cruise control is here, like in all Volkswagens back in that time. And here we have this is where you open the headlights, where you turn on the headlights, sorry. It has an automatic headlights, and here, as many German cars, I saw this in Opel too, it has a storage compartment, but in this case it has a soft touch material, something like a carpet here, and it feels very, very nice. Here it is a button for the parking brake, so we don't have a handbrake as we call it in Romania, it's automatic and it's electronic, sorry. And here you have two buttons, one for opening the door of the tank, and here, as I told you earlier, it's a button, and if you push it, the boot will open. Now, here we have three buttons. The adjustment is manual, but curiously, adjusting the back and also how stiff is here on your back, it's electronic, it's electric. Very curiously, why this was not made also electric. And here on the door, you have four electric windows, the buttons for the windows, the button for the electric mirrors, and of course soft touch material. And curiously, this part that extends outside, this part from here, it floats. Very interesting design. Otherwise, you just feel like in a normal Volkswagen. This is the key of the car, so it's not a normal key. And what you need to do is to put it here and then press the clutch and then push it like this, and the car starts. This is the trip computer here. You move everything from these buttons on the steering wheel. And what we have here, we have the consumption in liters per hour, we have the consumption in liters per 100 kilometers, we have the range, we have the route since you last the number of kilometers since you last reset the trip computer. We have the speed, we have the average speed. This is the speed shown in a digital way. Very interesting. You also have here oil temperature, speed warning if you want to set a speed limit, and the travel time since you started and reset the trip computer. If you want to reset the number of kilometers from here, you need to push on this button. That's a little bit weird, because on many cars you reset it from here, from the steering wheel, but in this case no, you need to reset it from here. And on the left you have this button to change the clock, to change the time. So this is the trip computer. Nothing is special, nothing very uncommon. And this is how the gauges are looking. I find them quite elegant. Here in the front we also have an abundance of quality materials. On the upper side of the dashboard we have soft plastic, and then you have an area that imitates the metal, but it's plastic. But over the years it doesn't have many scratches, so it stood the test of time. And in the lower part of the dashboard there is a hard plastic, but in the same time it feels quality, you know, you can feel the quality. Even if it's hard, it's not a nasty plastic, it's a high quality plastic, just that it is hard. This is a glove box. Just look and see how low it opens. It doesn't fall like in my old little Volkswagen, which is quite of a cheap car. It's not a Passat, and it's also covered in a carpet-like materials, which feels very nice. Now the glove box is also illuminated, it's quite big, and it also refrigerated. And because in case of the many cars, including mine, not this one, my personal car, you waste a lot of space in the glove box because of the car owner's book. Here you have a special place for it inside the dashboard on the upper side, and you have this leather rope, and you pull it, and this is the owner's manual. Very nice. Also on the central armrest, it's not sliding, but in the same time you don't need it to slide. You don't need it to slide because it's quite long, and even if you stay with the seat in the front, you still can rest your elbow. If you go back, you can still rest your elbow, and it has levels. Just look, see, and it opens. Also, it's covered in the same carpet-like material that it's very soft and feels very, very nice. And here you have an area that it's covered, when you uncover it, you have two cup holders and also some storage room here, but there is a lot of stuff, so I'll not remove it. But this storage room has a rubber cover, so you can take it off and then wash it. But what I like is, unlike many cars that have this area opened and everybody can see what you store there, this is covered, and you can keep your stuff away from the eyes of the curious people. Here, of course, we have some problems with the gear lever, because this broke out, but this can be repaired without any problems. And here on the central console we have the ESP button, and also the parking deactivation button, parking sensor deactivation button. The climate control, it's automatic, it's on dual zone, that it's very nice. And what I like, it's that it's physical, not just like nowadays on the screen. It's physical, and they are very well put, meaning that imagine that you are driving this car and you want to change the temperature. You don't even need to take your eyes off the road. So everything is well put here. This is the infotainment system. Much said infotainment system, because back then infotainment, it's not like what we are thinking today. But nevertheless, this is the infotainment system. And while you don't have an USB port, you have a CD, and at least you have a micro SD card that you can use it here, and this is very nice. Also, this infotainment system, it has touch screen. So what it's interesting is that you can click, select. Of course it works, it's a touch screen from 2010, so it's quite primitive. But nevertheless, it's a touch screen. It doesn't work too well. What I don't like is that, for example, you can have navigation on this car, but even so, I don't know who still uses the navigation for this car like 15 years ago. But let's say you are using it. The thing is that it's too low. A thing that I like in the cars nowadays is that even if they have those screens right here, it's very visible. The navigation or whatever you're using, infotainment, it's right in front of your eye view. Here it's very low, and if you are driving, you need to take off your eyes from the road and then look down there. This is not very nice. And also you have a special compartment for your sunglasses or eyeglasses, and you also have a sunroof. But I will not open it now because it just rained, and maybe rain will pour in the car. Just that you have this round button here. If you switch it to the right, then the sunroof will open partially, and then if you switch it to the left, then the sunroof will retract completely. And also here on the sun visors, you have a vanity mirror, and once you start sliding this covering of the mirror, here you have a light that automatically lights up. In my car I do have the same thing, but the lights are somewhere here, and when I open the vanity mirror, they just open automatically here. But in the case of the Passat, you have it separately, just here up. So about the seats, they feel very comfortable, but we will talk about this a little bit later when we will drive the car. So the quality feels quite high here. Everything is well placed, as I said. Even if the dashboard, it's not exciting and it's boring, I think everything is well made, well put in place, and I like it because it looks quite elegant. And I think this is the word that comes up during the video when I'm reviewing this car. Even if it's a car for the masses, it is still quite elegant. Before going for a drive, I want to show you something. And no, we will not talk about too much about the engine, not this time, as I told you before. But I want to show you something in the hood. In a lot of cars, the way you are opening the hood, they have here different systems, and many of them are very hard to find the way it opens. But here it's very simple. You just have like a door handle. You just click it like this, and it opens. Now, not only this, I want to show you one more thing. You see that? This car, this Passat, has a hood with gas struts. Nowadays, for example, the Golf 8 doesn't have that anymore. It has a piece of metal that you are taking manually and putting there, like in those cheap cars. Volkswagen are saying that they made this in the Golf 8 for safety. I don't know if it's for safety or not. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But what I know, that it's also cost cutting. Back then, when you didn't have so much technology on the car, you could afford to take care of fine details like this one. And this is what I like about this car. It has a lot of fine details that you can barely find in the mass cars from today. So we are now driving the Passat. The first thing when I first drove this car, the first thing that I realized, the first thing that I saw, the first thing that I was able to observe is that the soundproofing is very good. This car, of course, has a little bit of a noise from the back. It might be a bearing. The owner, it says that it might be from the old season tires, but I don't think so. I think that's a bearing sound. However, the soundproof, it's very good and it's very, very nice. What I don't really like, it's the gearbox, because it feels like it's getting stuck when I'm trying to change the gears. But otherwise, the car has no balance. I have here a turn. It's very, very nice to. It's not a sports car. Don't imagine. The Volkswagens are generally not sport cars, but it doesn't have any balance in a turn, you know? I mean, you don't feel it sporty, but you feel it safe. That doesn't mean that you need to trust in your car. Never trust in your car and drive safely, but just look. I mean, it has a lot of grip and no balance. Again, no balance, it's something that I like. And also something that I like a lot is the fact that these seats are very nice to travel in. They are soft, but in the same time, they have a lot of support here. So they feel like a sofa. You know, even this headrest, it is so soft, and you are in danger of getting asleep in this car. Now, the accelerations are it's not a fast car. Don't get me wrong. If you want to overtake, you have some resources, but it's not a fast car. It's a very comfortable car. It's a car that feels very well built, but it's not a sports car. It's a car for those. It's a car for those who travel a lot. Even here, the owner got a fuel consumption of 4.8, 4.9 on motorway, so on highway. So this car has a low fuel consumption, especially if it's a diesel, because also the weight of this car. Wow. So now I'm in third gear, 80 kilometers per hour, only 3000 RPM in the third gear. So I was saying that this car is very economical, low fuel consumption, it's not heavy. This car weighs only 1360 kilograms, only that. And because of that, those 110 horsepower feel like enough. Even my Astra J, which is a lower class, and it's a compact class in Europe, and for those of you in UK, it's a small family car. So my Astra is 1500 kilos heavy. This one only 1360 kilos. So if you want to accelerate, it has resources. Not like a sports car, but it has resources. And also the steering, while it's very comfortable and you can feel it like it's light, it responds to the smoothest of move. For example, see here, it responded. See here, it responded. Wow, see, look. So it's very interesting because it's a steering that it's smooth like that in a city car, but in the same time it responds to the slightest of move. But nevertheless, don't get me wrong, as I said, this is not a sports car. This is a car for long trips. It's very comfortable. The seats are very comfortable. The soundproofing is good. So this is a car that it's more suitable for those who are doing a lot of kilometers outside the city. So here we are. I will now answer a question in the end. It is still worth buying a Passat B6, which is a car that is almost 20 years old in 2024 in the now modern times? Well, it depends. If you want a cheap car that is very comfortable and you want very economical and that you want to use for longer trips, maybe it's worth it. But only if it looks like this one. Only if it was well maintained. because many of them are not already maintained anymore. They look very bad, they are in a bad shape. So if you want to look for a car like that and it's not in the best shape, then no, you will have a lot of problems with it, because many people who didn't maintain them properly, they had many issues with them. But if it's a model that it's well maintained, then maybe it's worth it, especially if it has a good price, because it can take you for many years from now on without any problems, and you can have a cheap and comfortable and economical and safe transportation for many years to come.